Alright, so for this this problem, they say find the price where supply equals demand. Alright, so I'm going to set the first equation, 2,500p minus 14,500 equal to demand, which is 3,000 divided by p. We're just setting this equal to this. Alright, so now the first step here is to multiply both sides by p. That's one of the rules of rational expressions. When you have a denominator that has a variable in it, you need to get that variable out of the denominator, and the way to do that is multiply by that. Alright, so the p cancels that p on this side, and then we multiply the p through. And now this is a quadratic. As soon as we see a p squared term, it should let us know that we need to get everything on one side and 0 on the other. Alright, so we get everything over here, and we get these big huge numbers, and we're going to use quadratic formula, but let me just show you a tip. If you realize all these numbers are divisible by 100, right, because they have two zeros, and if I divide both sides by 100, if I divide 0 by 100, it doesn't change the fact that the right hand is 0, so I can simply strike out two zeros here, strike out these two zeros, and strike out these two zeros. And in fact, I'm going to take it one step further. Do you realize there that 25, 145, and 30 are all divisible by 5? So likewise, we can divide this side by 5 and divide this by 5, and again 0 divided by 5 doesn't change. So 5 goes into 5 times, 25 5 times, 5 goes into 145 negative 29 times, and then 5 goes into negative 30 negative 6 times. So this is a much more manageable set of numbers, and just the same set of numbers on which to apply this, the quadratic formula. Right? So now I'm going to go populate the quadratic formula with these coefficients 5, negative 29, and negative 6. Now an important thing to remember here is people make a common mistake here with quadratic formula. You have to take negative b, and notice that our b was negative 29. So you have to do a double negative of 29. So you start out here and you get x equals positive 29. Make sure you get that part right. That's the most common mistake I see with quadratic formula. And then we do negative 29 times itself, and we get 841. And then here there's a negative in there. It's kind of hard to see it. But we have two negatives, negative 6 from the c, and then of course minus 4ac. So that's going to be a plus. And then 4 times 5 times 6 is 120. And then we divide that by 10. Alright, now this thing in the square root should work out to be a whole number. If it doesn't, you probably did something wrong, because I've set these problems up to be this way, to always be a perfect square. So we get the square root of 961, so let me take my calculator out here and take 961 and find my square root, which is 31. Alright, so I get 29 plus or minus 31 divided by 10. Now keep in mind that price can never be a negative number. Alright, so the 29 minus the 31, we have to do plus and minus, but the minus is not going to really apply, so we can just kind of get rid of the minus there. So it's just 29 plus 31. That's going to be 29 and 31 will be 60 divided by 10, and then 60 divided by 10 is just 6. And so therefore the price where supply equals demand is $6.